All the good names are taken. I'm Ronnie. I it up already. I'm Ronnie. All the good names are taken. Podcast 31 days, day 17. And today we brought in the big guns. We've got Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb podcast, who graciously decided to throw us some charity and say, hey, I will do one of these movies with you. It only took me emailing him 72 times this time to get it. And people that have followed the show, all 15 of you, know that I spent all last October, myself and Blake, begging Darren to come on 31 days. And he said no. And then at the end, after some of his fans shunned him, he was like, okay, I'll do it. But then it was November by that time. And now here we are a year later in 17 days, and we finally got Darren on 31 Days of Horror. So thank you, Darren, for being here.
No problem. And I got to say thanks to Blake for allowing me to step into his shoes while he's taking care of some business at the moment. So hope you're well, Blake, and pleasure to be on here.
We expect you to have all the same comments as Blake would have in this review. So you got big shoes to fill. You've got to make me hit the edit button 17 or 18 times over the course of this. Darren, we did a video where we threw out the October lineup. We thought that would be a good idea to show all the people that watch our show exactly what to expect when October came. Now, a couple of things has happened since then. We had to change up the lineup because they were all Blake-centric movies. But when the original lineup came out, you actually reached out to me and you were like, hey, I will do the Prowler and I'll do a couple of more if you want. Like, you spotted 3 movies right off the bat, and the first one you spotted was the Prowler.
In the UK, this was called something completely different. But it was called Rosemary's Killer, which you probably get from watching the film. But I don't know why they changed the name of it. What's wrong with the Prowler? It's short and sweet and to the point. Rosemary's Killer sounds like some kind of Hitchcock film or something.
I think I figured out what type of movie you like. I'm watching the Prowler, and I've seen it one time before, just one time. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, I know why Darren likes this movie. It's because every kill looks like a snuff film, like somebody's actually being murdered. Like, if you told me, hey, 7 of these people were really killed in this movie, I would believe it. So am I right or am I wrong? Are you the gore type? Do you love movies that have the Tom Savini-esque gore kills?
I idolize Savini. I think he's fantastic. I think he's kind of like, as he's gotten older, he's gotten a bit grouchy and a bit odd and things, but I've followed him from a very young age. And when email first came around, I don't know, 20 years ago or whatever, I found his website and I wrote him an email. And I just said, Tom, I really love your work, all that kind of stuff. Fired it off. And within 5 minutes, he wrote back.
Really?
He did. He just put, guess, you know what he put? No. He just put, thanks, man. And I thought, how cool is that? I don't even know if it was him or not. Could have been his wife, his PA, anyone who wrote back. But he wrote back, and I just thought that you got up even more in my estimation. His work, because he was a photographer in Vietnam, which he doesn't talk about very much if you've ever seen him being interviewed, his work is as close to real life as you're ever going to get. And when one of the nights when they were actually screening the Prowler for I think it was one of the opening nights, the director actually went in and hosted the screening. And one of the cinema workers actually came up to him afterwards and said exactly what you just said then, which was, did you kill those folks for real? Some of the kills in this film are gut-wrenching. Some of the work that Savini's done in this is fantastic. And he always cites it as being his best work. And when you watch the film, you can see why.
We watched a movie earlier in the month, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. And the narrator at the beginning of the movie talks about how all the guys had just come home from war. And I thought that was a weird thing to say. And then this movie starts off the same way. You get one of those old, I don't even know what you would call them, shorts where everybody's welcoming home all the war heroes from World
It's
War
like
II.
newsreel or something, isn't it? Or something. Yeah.
And nobody ever talks about back during the 40s of like the PTSD of coming back from war and what exactly those guys went through and how it affected them when they got back. Now, we got a lot of that from Vietnam. What struck me is in The Town That Dreaded Sundown, they bring that up. And then the whole movie is about a guy who's lurking around in the woods, killing teens. And in this one, the very beginning of it, the guy gets a letter from a soldier gets a letter from a woman, explaining to him that she's a whore and she can't wait till he gets back from war because you didn't tell me you were going to be gone this long. And this thing is throbbing. I got to get something into it.
Jilts him by letter while he's out in the battlefields.
Which now it's more humane. You just get a quick text. He had to wait for a letter to come in. Help me with this. The people that get killed at the very beginning of the movie, that would be the girl, right?
That's Rosemary.
Yeah, that broke up.
Yeah.
So he brought his PTSD back from the war and just went nuts on her. Just like The Town That Dreaded Sundown guy came back, which is never confirmed or never been discussed. These are two movies about people coming back from a war crazy and becoming like serial killers. Yeah. So this is a long way around the block to ask, did she break up with him for the guy that had all the money? Is that what I'm supposed to believe here? And are we supposed to really think that she broke up with him just because he was off at war and not because she found a guy that had a ton of money?
I think she was doing okay herself, wasn't she? Because her dad was Major, whatever his name in Big House. He was the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah,
Journey.
Elaine Bennett's dad from Seinfeld.
Yeah, he's what was his name? He was in Reservoir Dogs as well, right?
Yeah.
Leave a tip, you cheap bastard.
Why am
we established right off the bat that whoever this person is that she broke up with, he's the killer. And not only is he a killer, but he brought all of his stuff back, and that's what he's killing people in. So, Darren, you're the expert at this movie. How many years later does this take place? Like
35 years later, I think. So the original's not at the start of the movie. It's 1945, and then we flash forward to 1980. Yeah.
So, have no killings taken place in over the last 35 years?
I don't think so. I think he just chooses that prom, that particular that evening. Is it a homecoming thing or something? Yeah. I don't know, whatever. We don't have those things in the UK. We don't
Y'all should really have them. They're fun. So are you telling me, I promise I'm not being an asshole. I'm trying to grasp this movie. If they would have had a prom every year from that point on, would he have killed at each one of those proms or homecomings, whatever it was? Or is this just another incident 35 years later where they haven't had this dance since that murder and sort of like activates the crazy in him that he wants to do it again?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because part of me thought, because I knew who the killer was right away. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. I mean, the sheriff goes, yeah, I've got to have my fishing trip, so don't you try to contact me. Yeah. The movie starts with me, but I'm missing to disappear, so I'll see you guys later. Part of me goes, is there a backstory here where every year and he takes this fishing trip, is he committing murders then? It's like that his yearly murder rampage every year when he goes fishing, or is he literally just going fishing?
I think he's just going fishing. I just think he chose this particular year to go out and do what he does. And what they picked, and this never really happens up until recently. They picked a big star to be the killer of the movie, Farley Granger, who has 150 credits to his name, who's been in Hitchcock movies, classy TV productions. He's a huge star to be in a kind of cheap-ass slasher movie like this.
Well, see, that probably would have given it away, too. I had no idea who he is. See, that's the thing about, I swear, that's the thing about your show as compared to our show. You guys are very knowledgeable when it comes to everything. Like you and Frank are basically brilliant when it comes to knowledge of what the actors have done, what the directors have done, which basically me and Blake sit down and we're like, hey, I got 2 notes. Let's talk about the Prowler. And you're going to find that out pretty quick. I literally have 2 notes that I want to talk about with you. So I had no idea who this sheriff was from anybody. I mean, I'm not a big Hitchcock guy other than Psycho. I don't know anything about good TV shows. I watch the same shit over and over. I don't know anything about anybody in this movie, to be honest, other than the fact that Tom Savini did the effects and Elaine Bennis's dad, Lawrence Tierney, is the guy that's playing like the Hitchcock role of the mother in Psycho, sitting up in the window staring at everybody.
Well, I mean, with Farley Granger, he probably came on set for what, 1 day? Did that sequence at the beginning, and then the rest of the movie, you've got the assistant director and Tom Savini playing the Prowler. So you don't actually see him until he's unmasked at the end. And obviously they take a mold of his head to blow that up, and Savini actually did explode that with a shotgun.
I thought you were going to say Savini actually killed him.
Well, you never know, really, because it looks so damn good, doesn't it? We did a show on the top head explosions in horror. It was
Peter North make the list.
Peter North, fantastic. We did, like, it was Dave's suggestion. I think the 3 of us did it, and Prowler is one of the best. I think that and Scanners and a few other ones, Dawn of the Dead, stuff like that. But they're all, I think, was Scanners Savini? No, it wasn't Savini. But the Dawn of the Dead head explosions, this head explosion, Maniac. Do you remember the one in Maniac? Savini actually blows his own head off in this one. In Maniac. And that was the movie he did just before this. So the director of this, Joseph Zito, he actually went on to do Friday the 13th Part 4.
Yep.
And because of the relationship with Savini, was able to claw him back into the Friday franchise. Yeah,
because Savini was very outspoken on the fact that he didn't agree with bringing Jason back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and me and Blake had the discussion, and we're actually kind of brutal to Savini. Who are you to tell anybody that we can't bring Jason back? It's a Friday the 13th movie. It's not supposed to make perfect sense. Like, his whole thing was, why the hell is Jason's mom killing everybody in Part 1 if Jason's alive in Part 2? And it makes sense. I mean, I get where he's coming from, but I think he told them that he would only come on to do the effects in Part 4 if they agreed to kill him off for good.
That's it. Yeah. Which really is none of his fucking business, is it?
No. No.
Just think about the art and the paycheck. That's all you need to do, Tom. You know, this ain't Shakespeare, for fuck's sake.
What's one thing you want to discuss?
Well, one of them was Farley Granger. You know, the guy that they chose to be the killer in this. And when you take a look at his list of credits, I mean, it is so impressive. Like I said, he's over 150 credits to his name. He was in Strangers on a Train. He was in Rope, They Live by Night, all these Hitchcock classics and everything. He was, Murder, She Wrote as well. He did that. Love Boat, Tales from the Dark Side, Black Beauty. There's all that. His credits go on forever. Invisible Man, $6 Million Man. He's been around for so many years. And, I just thought it was a nice little touch to do that, because they haven't really, in slasher movies, they've never really had a name be the killer until this year, until Scream 6, when it was Dermot, whatever his name is, Dermot Mulroney, yeah. Yeah,
everybody hated him in that. I thought he was good. You may have hated him. I thought it was okay.
The film was all right.
I mean, you go into it expecting what you're going to get. Somebody's going to take the mask off and say, hey, this is what you did to me.
Well, his films are just don't get me started on Scream. I'm okay with Scream. I'm on the fence with Scream. It is kind of like, I guess, Friends with fucking knives, isn't it, though? I got to stop cursing, haven't I? Because you have to cut all this stuff out.
No, I like to leave when the guests cusses in. That way they look like they're more of a deviant than me. I will say this about Scream 6, and we'll get back to Prowler. What I didn't like, and I was just like, Jesus, is they have the scene where like it's like knife stabs don't matter anymore. Like they go to town on that one guy at the very end of it, Chad or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
No way he survives. And then they survive it. Then I was like, well, shit, at this point, you can get stabbed 1,000,000 times and it doesn't matter. You can, unlike this movie where if you get stabbed, it counts.
Yeah. And also the movie we're going to talk about next as well. The stabbings in that are dreadful, but we'll talk about that later. This is a movie called Blood Lake, folks, that Ronnie made me watch today. I had to pay for that shit as well. £3.50 to watch this film that a porno director would have been embarrassed by.
You're getting off the rails. Here we go. First thing I want to talk about. So they go through this long ordeal. We're introduced to the deputy, and he is flirting with these girls that are putting up a banner. Now, the great thing about The Prowler is it's one of these 80s movies where the person or persons in the scene could be 45 or they could be 16. It was the 80s. Nobody knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
I think this is college because they're all staying in a dorm room. And
yeah.
So I'm thinking this is college age kids. And the deputy, I suppose, is supposed to be a younger deputy, even though he looks 35, 36 years old. The one thing I focus on is, one, he's a pervert. Two, at no point in the movie can you feel any type of sympathy towards him because you know at any moment he's going to cheat on the blonde-haired girl. And third, his hair. The more impressive than any Savini effect in this movie is the fact that they were able to frizz this guy's hair up till you could not tell that he was balding. In certain scenes, if you look, it's a big ordeal when you have no hair. You got a great head of hair, Darren, so you don't. So
my hair's like fucking dog hair, for crying out loud. I'll never lose this stuff.
And right off the bat, I spotted a bald spot in this area of his head. And I was like, there you go. The wind got it after the hairspray. And then later in the movie, you can tell they changed the way they brushed his hair because they could see the bald spot as well. And when they did that, it opened it up a little bit more in the back and you see the little 2-inch part. Anytime there's a wide part, you know the person doesn't have much hair there. So the best and most impressive effect in this movie is the perverted deputy and the way that whoever was the stylist or whoever did this was able to cover up the fact that guy edit is going bald.
It's kind of a bit Ron Burgundy-ish, isn't it?
It's if the Prowler would have tried to stab him in the top of the head, it would have broke the knife.
I think there was a time when people were backcombing and hairspraying and blow drying and things like that, and I think there's a lot of hairspray on this. There's a hell of a lot. In fact, in some shots, it looks like a fucking hat.
It looks like Darth helmet in a couple of things.
It does. Yeah, that's a I don't know who's trying to kid with that Barnet. We call them Barnets in the UK. It's a Cockney rhyming slang thing. Barnet fair hair, and and it is a terrible piece of hair. It's almost pube-like as well, isn't it?
There you go. I was waiting for you to say it. It's like it's like Bigfoot's pubes. We'll put on this. There's no way any woman is okay. I couldn't say any woman, but here's the deal. Here's the scenario. If the Prowler would have made him drop his pants, he would have had the same hairdo between his legs there, and I agree with you, that he did on top of his head.
Yeah. I can't believe we've been talking about the deputy's hair for the last 10 minutes. It is shocking, though. I know what you're saying. It kind of, I don't know whether he's a young guy. They try to make him look a bit older or something. But there are endless shots of him kind of wandering around with a torch, not really finding anything, aren't there?
To the point that it almost convinced me that he might be the killer, even though I say that I knew it was the sheriff right off the bat. I was like, okay, maybe this is a movie where the sheriff comes swinging down into play later or something like that because he's the obvious red herring. Because like I said, I didn't know that the sheriff was a famous actor. So they keep showing the deputy in scenes where the Prowler was just located. And I'm like, okay, maybe they're just showing that to make the people at home think, okay, he can't be the killer. And then boom, at the end, he's the killer.
But also, you think about it as well. You might have a point. You know, I can see why you might have been kind of thrown off the scent a little bit because There's only that what did you call them in a K-pot or something like that? The helmet. There's only that type of World War II helmet.
Yeah.
That's heavy enough to kind of hold that hair down, I think. So I understand why you may have been thrown off the scent slightly there.
Did they ever explain how Lawrence Tierney got down the steps?
No, with his chair.
Yeah.
No, and he's just like, was it? He's like, there's a bit there when he's just kind of tugging that girl's dress in the alleyway there.
What was he doing in the bushes? He wasn't in the alleyways, in the bushes.
I don't know. It's a good question. Perhaps we'll ask.
Edit. If you people only knew what he just said, edit. All right, do you got anything else you want to talk about with this fucking Okay, so let's talk about the kills real quick, Darren, and we'll wrap this up. My favorite kill out of all of it was the throat slit in the pool. That it was brutal, and I'm the first to admit I'm a pansy. I don't like gore. The Hills Have Eyes remake in the 2000s is what got me off horror, because when they burned Buffalo Bill alive up there after they done killed everybody and were sucking on and shooting people in the head, I'm like, you know what? I'm out. I love horror. It's my favorite genre, but I can't deal with what it's becoming. And then I disappeared. I retreated back into the 80s and just watching in the 90s and watching my favorite horror movies over and over. I couldn't tell you anything past The Ring about what happened with horror in the 2000s, minus the new Scream movies, the Michael Myers movies, and so on and so forth. There's a way that they do it here that it looks realistic, but it's not to the point where I'm like, oh God, I got to turn it off. I mean, like the most unrealistic part of that kill where he slits her throat, or I may be getting too confused, because no, I'm right. He pulls the knife, blood just falls down in. The most unrealistic part of that was the Prowler was under the water for like 3 minutes before he came up. He'd have been floating dead.
He wasn't in the water.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because he kicks her in the face from the side of the pool. She gets out of the pool and he kicks her in the face. And apparently the Joseph Zito made her do that sequence like multiple times, but it was like a fake rubber boot that they were using in her face. Yeah. So he kicks her back into the pool and then gets in the pool.
Oh, okay. See, I'm a terrible movie watcher. I assumed he was under the water and then he pops up and I was like, holy has he got like a snorkel or something on under there?
No. Yeah, that scene is, I mean, a lot of Savini's deaths, trickery is weapons with bits cut out of them. So the blade has like a semicircle cut out, so you can put it against the neck and then move it around and pump blood and all that kind of stuff. And so in your head, it's kind of, it's cutting away, but it's just not. It's just an illusion, and that is pretty brutal when he's got the bayonet around her neck in the pool. My favorite is are the two kills in the bedroom. Actually, Tarantino has said as well that his favorite two slasher kills are the bedroom kill where the bayonet goes through the top of the guy's head and out of the chin, and then he's kind of twisting it, and the guy's choking on his own blood, and then his eyes open and he's got white eyes. And that looks pretty awful. And it's the same with Buffalo Bill in The Hills Have Eyes when he's burning against that tree. If you look, his eyes kind of turn white.
Really? What causes that?
Special effects. But no, it's and then the pitchfork in the shower scene.
That looks most realistic.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Savini's work is just class all the time. It really is. And it's a shame that he stopped doing movies. I think he just had enough. But he's created a lot of, the likes of Greg Nicotero were all assistants of his. A lot of the top effects guys all started with Savini. So, good stuff. And like the kills in this film are just, as he says, it's his favorite work. So
my favorite character in the movie might have been the fat guy that was playing cards at the lodge. because Deputy Hare decides he's going to call. At this point, people are dying. The smart thing is they've decided to lock all the kids or all the college kids into the ballroom where they're having the dance. And the deputy decides, okay, I guess I got to call and ruin the sheriff's fishing trip. So he calls, and there's a guy that looks sort of like me, but not as good looking. And he's sitting there, and he's got the world's biggest chew. And first off, Darren, I don't know if you know anything about chewing tobacco, but he grabbed just a little bit of it, if you paid attention. And then he put it in the front, which you don't do that. You grab it and you put it in the back, and then you work it to the front. You've got to get it all packed up back there, then work it to the front so you can get up off the buzz edit. So,
it's banned in this country.
Really?
Do you remember the years ago they had these little kind of tea bag things called skull bandits?
Yes.
Yeah, they were banned in the UK because they discovered that people were getting mouth cancer from it.
Oh yeah, everybody knows that. It's got glass in it, like fiberglass.
So we don't have it in the UK.
I used to be a huge dipper in the front and a chewer in the back in my younger days.
I bet you smelled great.
I did. Well, I mean, there's a reason I've had my mouth completely redone because it's like just hammered the backside of my mouth right here. I have super enamel on my teeth. It like absorbed everything. And after like a year of chewing tobacco, it was like just they had to go through there with like a sand blaster and clean my teeth and get them back to working proper order. So anyway, that's the younger days. Anyway,
probably like the most disgusting story I've ever heard.
No, I'm just saying. Look, I got cavities, Darren. You never had you're in the UK. You know all about cavities. Don't play it like you don't have cavities over. I've seen Austin Powers. And he's sitting there and he's playing solitaire, and he can't be bothered with this phone call. And they're like, we got to reach. He goes, I just got here. And he's like, well, can you go check? And he's like, you put the phone down, and he swings the thing open so it makes noise, and he goes back to playing cards. And this takes up like 5 minutes of the movie. I mean, he's just sitting there playing solitaire, and then it cuts back to Helmet Hair, and he's waiting, and then back to him playing solitaire, and then he runs the thing again to make the noise like he just came in. He's like, he's not there.
Did you find the bit at the end? So when she has the showdown with the Prowler at the end, and the old guy who's obviously a suspect comes in with the shotgun and shoots the Prowler. There's that awkward exchange between the final girl and Otto, where they're just kind of it almost feels like, are they going to or something?
Well, if you don't remember from the graveyard scene, Otto had already tried to rape her one time when he was just out and about. And I guess as he's pursuing her to probably try to kill her and then molest her, that's when he comes into, hey, there's a murder actually happening. And you're probably right. I thought for a second, I was like, man, this movie is great. Otto just saved the day. He's the town weirdo at the beginning of the movie that didn't want to go to that house. So, but no. He got blasted.
He did.
He didn't get the screw. The one thing at the end of the movie that I thought was kind of cool in a way was the killer has been, you have to think, mortally wounded. And he's still trying to kill the girl. And he gets where he can't breathe because of his get up. And you can see him reaching at the face covering because he can't breathe, and he has to snatch it off and reveal who he is. He didn't want to, but he's wounded so bad that he's got to get some air. So he takes that off during that final battle before she blows his head off. And I thought it was a really good reveal of the guy. I mean, I'm sure people were like, oh, but I mean, anybody that's watched as many horror movies as us, we've got to know who the killer is. And it was a really good ending. I mean, it really was a good ending, and overall, it was a really good movie.
Yeah, and well, you obviously sussed it out early on, but I just think the look of the Prowler as well is quite unique.
I like it.
Yeah, him creeping around with that pitchfork around the house and everything. There's a few scenes where it's too brightly lit, I think. But on the whole, I think it's a really creepy slasher film, and you know, I'm not sure how successful it was when it came out, but It's for me, it's one that I think stood the test of time because of the caliber of the effects work in there.
The only question I have left is there's a scene where he's got the pitchfork at the deputy's neck, and we later realized that the deputy did survive. So I'm guessing he didn't kill the deputy because he has a fondness for him because it's his deputy. So he just wanted to subdue him, go kill the girl, and then get the hell out of there. So here's a question, Darren, because like I said, I'm not a very good movie watcher. She finds all kind of pictures. What did all that mean? And did she have any kind of connection to the guy that was the Prowler for him to want to kill her? Or was it just random?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just, as far as I know, I don't think she has any connection to the girl, because that whole scene where they're in the house and the major's, or whatever, colonel or major, or it's major, isn't it? Major, yeah. Whatever.
Major Payne.
Major Payne. He's they're discovering the backstory there, aren't they? They're just kind of like,
one of those pictures looked like a younger version of the main girl. It looked like a childhood version picture of her, like her as a kid. It's the only reason I asked. It probably has nothing to do with her. It was just a picture of a young girl that was in that book of clues. And I was wondering if she had anything to do with it. See, the problem with trying to review 31 movies in 31 days is if you don't do it in January, you have to run through a bunch of these movies and you miss some things that might be important. And I was just wondering if I had missed something that was majorly important.
I don't think so, but we'll get lambasted in the comments section down below if there is something there. But I don't remember there being any connection between her and Rosemary. All
right, so here's how we do it, Darren. We're rating it 1 through 10. You can use the decimal system. 1980's The Prowler, or is it 81? 81. 1981's The Prowler. What do you give it?
7.
Okay. So right here, I wrote down 7.4. And that's one of the higher scores I've given this month. And it's really because of these kills. It's a simplistic story, I think. Man that was done wrong, lost the love of his life, came back from war after defending America and England. He comes back from the war and he has to kill people that don't act right. Then he takes a 35-year break to protect and serve as a sheriff. He's really a hero. And then they start having these sex parties again that got his girlfriend while he was off in war, got her going, buzzing down there, had to get it extinguished. So now he's going to kill all them before they hurt any guy's feelings. So he's really protecting the town. And she was probably the bad guy for blowing his brains out, but nobody ever know that because they won't put as much thought into it as I did just then.
Do you think how he had the initiative there, didn't he? He was above her and pushing down and everything, but she still managed to pull the gun up under his chin.
Well, he wasn't, you brought it up. He was in a lot of Hitchcock movies, which means he probably weighed 135 pounds. So she was probably able to easily overpower him. He could barely wear that suit he had on. I always put myself in those scenarios, Darren, where I'm the girl and the killer's trying to kill me. And I was fighting along like she would. And this is not a bid or anything. And I was like, the minute I grabbed the top of that barrel like she did, he would have pulled the trigger and I would have been like the guy from RoboCop. My hand would have just got exploded. And then I'm sitting there looking at it while Red Foreman's going, need a hand? So hit us in the comments, guys. What did we forget to talk about? The correct answer is everything. How wrong was Darren in his commentary about this movie? Give us your score. What you think this movie is. What's your favorite part? What's your favorite kill? Day 17, which means there's been 17 straight days of people reviewing and talking about Halloween on this platform. And I'm not able to make those videos. I'm jealous because I want to talk about the Halloween cinematic universe and how it's stupid. All right. So
can you imagine that? The Halloween cinematic universe.
Darren, how can they make? Look, I haven't watched any of these videos. I watched. I saw a thing on Twitter where they said that Miramax wins the rights. They want to make a Halloween cinematic universe, and all I could think about was how Marvel has ruined everything. Because It's Michael Myers. Where's the cinematic universe? It's one guy in one town. What are they going to do? Are they going to make a Russellville story? Or are we going to follow Ben Tramer? Charlie Bowles? The guy Bud, who was the ambulance driver in part 2? Are we going to get his story?
Well, that might be fun.
The Last Starfighter?
Yeah, he did. A Bud spin-off would be great fun. That guy get up to all sorts of things.
There's no cinematic universe they can make. The only way they could justify this is if they go, we're going to go to the most niche audience available. You know what we're going to do? We're going to show you guys what happened between Halloween 2 and Halloween 4 in that institution. We're going to leave a camera on a guy in gauze for 45 minutes and let you watch it.
Well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to do like, do you remember like Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer or something like that? They're going to do something like, you know, some kind of one-off episodes like Murder, She Wrote from the Files of Dr. Loomis or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that makes zero sense considering Loomis is just like flabbergasted. And even though people won't admit it, he spends the entirety of this franchise scared to death. Like he is scared in Halloween 1. I was right. Holy shit, who knew? This guy's crazy. So
maybe I should say that, because I thought he just spent the entire franchise souped up to the tits on gin. But you know, they seem to think there's some mileage in it. But you know, I was in at the con the other week when they announced they were going to do something. They said they've got all sorts of plans. Who knows? Michael Myers, as Malika Card said, is hot right now. It'd be stupid to drop it. Do you know what I mean? If there's money to be, and people will moan and bitch about another Halloween movie or a TV show, but guess what? All of them will watch it.
It's to the point now where you can't please anybody. If they make the best Halloween movie ever, you're still going to have 50% of the people going, hey, this sucks. I mean, you know I'm right. You got to play the part. You got to pretend like you're a nice guy to all these weirdos. But they're going to do that. They're going to be mad. Look, these are my words, not Darren's. So, I mean, they're going to be mad. These are the same people that want Halloween 4 to be branched off of. They don't realize Jamie Lloyd is 70 years old and showing her boobs on OnlyFans. I mean, I roll my eyes every time I'm on Twitter and it goes, oh, Danielle Harris would be open to coming back to how you think?
Of course she is.
She's fan on OnlyFans for dollars, and you think she wouldn't want to come back at it? She wouldn't want to come back for money from a movie. It's like when Corey Feldman goes, "I'd love to come back and play Tommy Jarvis." No shit. Hashtag no shit.
Exactly. But the thing is, if they do bring it back, how do you explain that to a non-Halloween fan base, to a non-Halloween audience? You know what I mean? So this is the girl that was in 4 and 5 and died in 6, but we're carrying it on from 4. But where's Jamie Lee Curtis? Oh, no, not that. That's a different. It's just a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare. It's never going to happen.
Now, on day 15, we had Shane Emerson, who's a guy that is a real big fan of the show, or of other shows. We just asked him to come on ours. And he's a young kid. He's like 21 years old. And he said his biggest thing when he got into the Halloween franchise was he didn't know the timelines or the continuity. So if somebody that's into horror can't figure out the continuity, how is somebody outside of horror going to figure out the continuity? I mean, it shouldn't be that complicated. And even when they Halloween 2018, I thought they did a great job of saying, watch part 1, then watch this one. And then people were still confused.
Yeah.
People were idiots. And that's what we came to. People are idiots. Darren, thank you. Guys, Darren's going to be with us a couple more days. I guess I should save that as a surprise. But he's going to be with us for a couple more episodes. So, Darren, thank you for taking time out of your busy day, wheeling and dealing. I was very disappointed that you didn't have a cape on at age 45. I didn't see that. I thought for sure you would have came in with a cape on, but you didn't. Thank you for helping me out. Thank you for dealing with this conversation that's probably beneath you on the Prowler. You're used to more highbrow discussions when it comes to the Prowler. Guys, make sure you check out the Slaughtered Lamb podcast, pound for pound, what I think is the best YouTube channel going right now, and that's not BS. I really do enjoy Frank and Darren. It's one of the few channels that I can watch that I don't roll my eyes and go, these guys are fake or begging for money. Okay. So there you go.
Thank you for that. That's very kind of you.
Day 17 in the books. Hopefully you guys are doing something with October and not wasting your lives. As my dad used to say to me, go outside and pick up sticks. Thank you, Darren.
Bye-bye.